Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right as long as you use your sunscreen, okay? Sunscreen, 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 365 days a year, you guys. Why would you use sunscreen if it's not sunny where you live every day? I'll tell you. Because sun rays they consist of two different types of rays, the UVA and the UVB. Easiest way to remember the different types of rays is this, you guys. The UVB burns you, and the UVA ages you. Well, guess what? The UVB rays, I live in Seattle, so the UVB rays come out between the end of July and the second week of August. That's pretty much when we get the UVB rays in our climate here. And the rest of the time it's raining. But guess what? When it's raining, the UVA rays, which are the longer, more powerful ones, are coming right through the clouds, and they're aging you every single time you're outside. In addition, the UVA rays are also aging you every time that you're inside, because they come from natural light, specifically LED, halogen, and fluorescence. Incandescents have a little bit of it too, but unless you're holding your face right up underneath a bulb, those don't affect you quite as much. But the UVA rays also go through windows, they go through your car. Cars have a special glass these days. I think any car that's made since, I think, the late 80s has a UVB filter on it. You can drive all day and not get a sunburn, but you're still aging from the rays. And the number one thing that you can do to look younger, longer throughout your entire life is protect yourself from the sun. As I've said that, I'm going to take a pause before we get into products here and talk about the benefits of UV rays. Human beings do need sun exposure because it's the only way that we can naturally create vitamin D within our bodies. And so science is now taking a little bit of a step back from the assessment that we've all been teaching the past 10 or 15 years, that you have to always have a sunscreen no matter what. And they're taking a little bit of a step back and saying, okay, 5 minutes a day of sun exposure is really good for you and really healthy. And if you aren't able to get that, then you should supplement with vitamin D supplements. The current research that I've read on vitamin D supplements is that you are to have 4,000 international units of vitamin D every other day. Those pills are easily purchased not only at your local health food store, but pharmacies and now major grocery stores are also carrying those. So you can have up to 4,000 international units based on the latest research that I have read, but take them every other day. Don't take them every day, because vitamin D is a fat-soluble supplement, and to overdose can injure your liver, and create additional complications. So you don't. It's not something like taking vitamin C. With vitamin C, you can take as much as you want. If you take too much, you'll just have a little bit longer in the bathroom than you would like. But vitamin D, you don't necessarily have that reaction. You just contribute to a poor health. So again, listen to what I said about vitamin D. And a nice sun exposure might be a little brisk walk for 5 minutes. Stretch out your arms. Take your sweater off, show your shoulders. If you're wearing shorts, let your shorts get a little bit of sunshine, but no more than 5 minutes, because that's when we're creating a susceptibility to skin aging. So that being said, are you taking notes? I hope I'm not getting too much out here. You should be taking notes, though. If you're not, go back to the first video and get out a pen and paper. But anyway, where was I? Back to sunscreens. So get your daily dose of vitamin D. If you're supplementing it, do. If you're getting a sunny exposure, 5 minutes, you guys, that's it. And the rest of the time, you need to wear a sunscreen on your face. There's two different styles of sunscreen. There's the style of sunscreen that you will take with you to the beach or to the sailboat or to the golf course or to skiing. Anything like that has to be a little bit more thick, a little bit more traditional, what we think of sunscreen. It can be your copper tone smell. A fragrance by Bobbi Brown called Beach actually took the copper tone smell, made it reminiscent of vacations. That's the type of thing that you need. I will have a whole other video at some point about the different types of those sunscreens and what my top picks are and why. But for today's senses, because this is Makeup 101, just know that there's 2 types. What's the other type? The other type is newer. It's a thin substance, and it's usually found in a little container about, let's see if the camera gets it out, about that big, just a little container full of thin fluid, and you have to shake it up, and it goes on really, really, really thin, and by the time you're done applying, you don't even see it anymore. That's your daily screen, and that daily screen needs to be worn every day. There's a few companies that make good ones. I'll list them for you now, although at the very end of this entire series, I do plan to do a top picks video, which I've never done before because I hate advocating products, but I will do it for you because you've asked, and I love you, so I'm going to do what you asked me to do, okay? But just to rattle off a few brands that make a good shaky sunscreen for everyday use. The number 1 and my favorite is Clarins UV+ SPF 40 Protective Day Screen. Another good one is Dior, Chanel, Laura Mercier, Kiehl's, and Lancome, and La Mer. Those are the ones that I know about. The last 3 are newer. I don't love the way that Lancome and Kiehl's smell. They smell a little bit kind of like a lab product, but they're very effective. So if you don't care about the smell, or if you need something that's completely fragrance-free, those are the best ones for you. Clinique makes a product called City Block, which is okay. It'll do the trick. I just don't love the texture as much. It's a little thick. So if you're drier skin, you'll enjoy it. If you're not as dry, like I'm not that dry, you may not enjoy that product. But City Block has, from Clinique, is also an effective one as well. In any event, after you have cleansed, toned, serumed, that's not a verb, but I'm going to use it as one, moisturized, then the next thing is sunscreen. It should create a physical layer on your skin, and many of the sunscreens that I mentioned just now also act as a makeup base, almost a primer. So that cuts 1 step out of your moisturizer. I'm sorry, that cuts 1 step out of your makeup, not your moisturizer, your makeup routine, which we'll talk about later. So apply your sunscreen all over to the face, neck, ears, and whatever you have left over, apply to the back of your hands, because we get old lady hands by driving. Okay, so make sure that those areas are always covered with your sunscreen. And I think that's all I have to say. There was one other thing I wanted to say about sunscreen. What is it? Oh, this is really cool. So by next year, the government is going to publish new regulations on the packaging of sunscreen. So listen up, guys. And this is a long video. I'm sorry, but this is something that's really, really important. I want to get you all the information that I have available so that you can have it available to you as well. It's very, very important that you can understand what the SPF number means. And the government has decided that they need to issue regulation on the packaging of sunscreen to make it easier for the consumer to understand that. Now, I feel that all of you all are really smart people, so instead of waiting until next year when all the new packaging comes out, I'm just going to spell it out to you now, so you'll have all the information before anyone else, and then you'll be cooler than they are, okay? So, first of all, it's really important that you can understand SPF means sun protection factor, and what sun protection factor is the amount of time, well, not what it means, but it has to do with the amount of time it takes you to burn in the sun without protection versus the product's ability to protect you in that same situation. Are you with me? So let me give you an example. If I go out to the beach without any sunscreen and I grab my beach ball and I run out and it's direct sunlight, after about 10 minutes, let's say, we'll just do it for math reasons, it's easier that way, but it's really 15 for me. But after about 10 minutes, my skin starts to burn. And I look at it and it starts turning a little bit pink and I start feeling that burny feeling. So then my sun protection factor time is 10 minutes. All you do is take that number, 10 minutes, if you're 10 minutes, and you multiply it by the number on the bottle. So if I'm using an SPF 40, and I know for myself that if I weren't using any sunscreen that it would take me 10 minutes to burn, then my SPF 40, when I use it, is going to protect me for 400 minutes. You multiply the two, okay? So I have 400 minutes. And SPF 40 is great because that's pretty much as long as any dermatologist or anyone in the industry is going to suggest that you probably should be in the sun. Any more than that, and hopefully you're not wandering the desert for 40 years, okay? So SPF 40, what the government is saying now is you cannot package something that says above a 50 because the research shows it doesn't work anymore. 50 is kind of the max. Anyone that's been claiming an SPF 90 or an SPF 100 or SPF 200, it's marketing, and it won't protect you like that. They're trying to sell you something that gives you a little bit of an extra hope. It doesn't exist. SPF 40 is kind of where you want to go. My second thought on sunscreen. A lot of people tell me I don't need to buy a sunscreen because it's in my moisturizer or it's in my foundation. Fine. First of all, are you putting your moisturizer and your foundation on your face, ears, neck, and hands? Fine. If you're putting your foundation on your face, ears, neck, and hands, I think you're using too much foundation. But that's okay if you want to do it. Second of all, check to make sure what the number is. I do not advocate using anything less than a 15, and I really feel strongly that you should be using something around a 30 or a 40, because again, we're talking about time. Now, if you're an olive tone complexion, if you're African American, if you're Asian, if you're any ethnicity that has a naturally less susceptible to sun damaged skin, meaning that your burn time might be 20 minutes or 30 minutes, great. As long as you understand the math and you understand how to do it. But for us fair white folks, you need to do a 30 at least, okay? So you be the judge what number you need, but just know that that's what it means. And so buying the 50 doesn't mean that it's a stronger sunscreen. It just means it's going to protect you a little bit longer than a 15. The other note about sunscreens is that when you mix them into a product, they don't mix well. And the more you add to a product, such as a foundation or a moisturizer, the thicker it gets. So if I'm an oily skin person and I prefer gels and lotions, I'm not going to find a lotion that is thin and a texture that I like with an SPF 40 or an SPF 50. I'm probably only going to find it with a 15. That's why they sell them that way, folks. So if you ever wondered, that's why. Nothing wrong with it, but that's the reason. I prefer, and most skin experts prefer, an additional sunscreen on top of the daily care that you are already using. So that's why in my video I'm suggesting it as its own separate step. Now on to the next separate step, to the next video. If I can find the button.